So, when it comes to the tiki business, that has intrigued me. So yeah, let's talk about that. What is tiki? Like tiki has to do with Hawaii, right?
Right. Yeah, tiki is basically, a kind of a kind of subculture. Well, especially now, like these days.
Does it have anything to do with lowbrow? Like, what's the deal? Like, when I see lowbrow, I see tiki.
Yeah. Yeah. Please continue though.
Yeah.
Continue into lowbrow.
Lowbrow. So like, I don't know. I saw a documentary about it, and I mean, lowbrow. For me, it's just but for me, the some of the technique. I don't know if it's airbrush or what it is. Like some of the technique is actually more than lowbrow. It's like lowbrow. It's utterly beautiful. Some of the lowbrow.
It's just weird, bizarre pop culture. I find it just hilarious. And I just like the whole 60s vibe that it has into the 70s, really. But I suppose there's a certain nostalgic type of kitschiness to it that I just find really very amusing.
I'm into even the hair and the dresses.
Right, everything about it.
In some of the old movies, like when I went down to Missouri for Skepticon, I was on Route 66.
Oh, cool!
And it's always been sort of a dream of mine to like go through Route 66 and just drive along and just like go to all these places that time has forgotten or something.
I know, I love that. There's these kind of time capsules of weirdness, where things are kind of suspended and at the same time they're very current, but they're reinvented sort of pockets of weirdness. And it's very creative too, right? Because like Tiki died and then it's recently been going through a rebirth as a kind of subculture type phenomenon where again there's a lot of creative wackiness, if you will, because it's make-believe, right? Tiki is basically an imaginary Polynesian paradise that doesn't really exist, even though places like Hawaii have adopted a lot of tiki culture, because when tourists went down there they were expecting these types of imaginary things, and they so that some of the got incorporated and then mixed up into what was already existent in the local culture. And so that's really kind of very sort of amusing, fun, free-spirited Play-Doh kind of art. I don't know, exploring one's imagination, I guess, and again, that kind of carefree way. And it's so colorful, and it just doesn't take itself very seriously, For all these reasons, I find it extremely interesting.
I think my first exposure to Tiki might have actually been Pee Wee's Playhouse.
Well,
when I was a kid.
There's Tiki at Pee Wee's Playhouse. He's got the Tiki statues and he's got the hula girl in there. They even have this great, kind of luau party in the first season of Pee Wee's Playhouse where they have, the poo-poo platters and all this great stuff.
I didn't know what a poo-poo platter was until I came to Montreal, actually, and I ordered it.
Right. It's just a bunch of fruit and all kinds of things. It depends, I think. I don't know. I have this fantastic book in here. It's this giant coffee table book called Tiki Pop. And it basically, recounts the entire history of Tiki and, how it was politically, there was certain elements of it at one point that were politically incorrect. And then that got reinvented as well, in a more modern appreciative way, if you will. I don't know. I guess what I like the most about it is that it's so joyous. It's incredibly joyous, and there's kind of a childlikeness to it that I find really quite irresistible. And again, it's just that really taking itself seriously and being, unabashedly kitschy. It's just there's this great club in Vegas that I had actually wanted to go to Vegas next summer, but I'm not going to be going because I'm just exhausted and really drained here, and I'm not much of a traveler, and this is becoming more and more apparent as the years go by. But it's a place called Frankie's Tiki Room. And this place, it's just unbelievable. This place looks like straight out of the 50s. It's just so trashy. It's just beautiful. It's got this beautiful, John Water-esque aura to it. Basically, they on their website they were saying that they have TV screens in there, and actually, if you see the inside, is just you have to see to believe it. It's just kitsch from floor to ceiling, and palm leaves, and oh my gosh! On the website, or actually, it was someone somewhere discussing this place, and they mentioned that they show basically old Hawaiian movies and old burlesque and vintage porn.
So that
so funny.
That reminds me of one place I was at in where was I? Also in Las Vegas, and it was I think it was a Howard Johnson. There's a Howard Johnson on the Strip, like on the old Strip. Like I don't even know what it's called, but it's the way off the beaten path, sort of north, and the Tiki bar was still there, and it was all laid out. You had like volcano gods out front, the whole deal.
It's there's kind of a Big Lebowski kind of a thing going on there. I just like this. Again, the joyfulness of it and the not taking yourself really too seriously. I rather like that a lot. You see a lot of there's obviously there's some things you have to take seriously, but I think for the most part there's way too many things being taken way too seriously most of the time. And I think that tends to get us all bogged down in, non-issues. And I think it impedes progress in a way.
There's another place, actually, I want to go to. I've never been there, and I don't know if it's still there after the hurricane that rolled through New York a while ago, but Coney Island.
Gosh, that's another thing that's awesome. Actually, speaking of Pee Wee Herman, last night I was watching Big Top Pee Wee.
Is that the one with Large Marge?
No, that's the first one. That's Pee Wee's Big Adventure. Yeah,
hilarious.
Large Marge. Yes, tell him Large Marge sent ya. No, the Pee Wee, Big Top Pee Wee is actually even more. It has more of an absurdity to it than the first one, which is saying something. But it has gloriously Chaplin-esque moments to it. But Pee-wee's on a farm, right? So he's got all his animals and so on, and he's got this laboratory where he's growing these gigantic vegetables there to solve problems of hunger, etc.
I've got to watch this again. I don't remember any of that.
And see, the thing is that at one point, the townspeople are all these elderly, dried up people who are having a very hard time enjoying anything anymore. And they find Pee-wee to be fairly problematic, even though he's making efforts to sort of enliven these people. And there's this huge storm that comes in, and basically a circus ends up sort of swept into Pee-wee's farm, and the townspeople are completely opposed to these circus people. Like again, you have the uber kitschy type of they have the sideshow. They have a teeny tiny woman that's about the size of she's maybe, 6 inches, and she's married to the ringmaster. Again, there's such a joyfulness to it. And, there's a celebration of this sort of, I mean, you could call it lowbrow, or you could call it really joyfully childlike, I think. Again, not taking itself too seriously, right? Because then, of course, the ringmaster decides, he's inspired by Pee-wee, and he revamps the whole show, and it's sort of a circus of the American farm. They incorporate farm animals in there. It's completely insane, right? But really funny. They had Pee-wee and his one of his co-stars, whose name escapes me at the moment, lovely woman who's the trapeze artist in the circus, basically have the longest kiss on screen. I think they were trying to break a record. I'm not sure if they quite managed to do that, but if they didn't, I have to say it was pretty close. And of course the movie starts with a dream sequence where Pee-wee is, basically one of those classic crooner types, again, tying in with the Tiki and, the kitschy and the nostalgic and so on. And he sings The Girl on a Flying Trapeze. And actually Paul Rubens has an incredibly gorgeous singing voice.
Is that, so Paul, I don't even know who Pee Wee Herman is. Is that Paul Rubens? That's his name?
Yeah, that's his name. But like when you see the credits roll for for his movies, it's like Pee Wee Herman as Pee Wee Herman. To him it's like it makes Pee Wee even like a real person, right? It makes him like a not a fictional character, but like a real character. But again, he's he reminds me of Mr. Bean, where you introverted types tend to create these very fantastic characters. And I think they all tie together with this far outness about them that I find irresistible.
It's ridiculous, but it's fun. And I don't know where I saw it, but Pee Wee Herman is, there's a movie out. It's due out for Netflix.
It is. It's called Pee-wee's Big Vacation. I can't wait to see it.
I would have been shocked if you didn't know, right?
No, I mean, honest, I've seen this these great, this great footage of him. He has this miniature little, red antique car that he rides around in.
It's like a little Shriner car, right?
Exactly. This gorgeous little red car. And to see him in that, and actually when they started talking about that film, I had seen, this somewhere or other. I don't, like to keep up with this type of thing because I find it really, it doesn't appeal to me at all. But he apparently gotten some flag because, he's too old to be doing this and it's creepy. And it's ridiculous to me. Why not? Why shouldn't he do this now? What does it matter that he's old?
You can be as old as you want. And you can put on some makeup and be a clown. So why can't you be Pee Wee Herman?
Exactly, and the thing is, like, what, you get 60 and that's it? You know what I mean? That life is over. I mean, come on. That's just
I guess he's already 60, but he didn't look very old at all in the movie.
No, I mean,
the preview.
Younger than his age. I mean, even now he still has, what you'd call the baby face, right?
You never met Pee Wee though, right?
No, I've never met Pee Wee.
He's got a big presence on Twitter, though. I actually follow him.
He's hilarious on Twitter. He tweets a lot of really fun stuff. Again, kitschy, ridiculous things that to me it's a celebration of life again. And look, we're here for a limited amount of time. Sometimes you really can't take yourself that seriously because otherwise it just sucks the life out of life, basically.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting because it wouldn't kind of surprise me if back in the 60s that, I guess it wouldn't be counterculture back then, but the thing is that, you had the establishments, like you had established religion, you had established this, established that, and then you had this coming out of nowhere.
And it was very serious, right? It's very serious. You can't laugh. It's kind of, like when they had the, oh my gosh, what was the Pussy Riot, right? Pussy
Yeah.
Riot in
Yeah.
Russia. And they had this they had this thing where they had gone into the church and they had done this protest, and these big burly guys finally came apparently to remove them or whatever. And the thing is, I'd read that there was, I think, a press conference or whatever, and when they were showing the footage or something, some of the reporters laughed, right? And they got chastised immediately, man, because this was not funny. There was nothing funny about this. Nobody laughs, right?
The whole thing is
Laughs.
hilarious, of course, right?
Yeah.
But
So
it's funny, but it's not funny. It's kind of similar to me to some of these femin protesters that you
right. Oh,
see.
no, I know. There's absolutely a serious aspect to it. But what I'm saying though is that
It's like it's using the ridiculous and the
right.
absurd.
Exactly. And the thing is that, again, you had those reporters who really got, chewed out for, there's anybody who gets caught laughing, they're out the door. This is not funny. There's no laughing. And you find that again whenever you get into a totalitarian way of thinking, suddenly nothing is funny. You can't laugh at anything. And this is how you end up, I think, like in North Korea, where you have these men with these gigantic military hats, and you're like, dudes, you just seem to realize you've turned yourselves into a clown car.
You know what's hilarious about I find hilarious about North Korea is that even the guy's hair, and even like everything, it's like something out of a like a Mao Zedong I don't know, wristwatch or something. It's like living kitsch in a sense. Some of what's going on there.
But see, the thing is though, I think the difference between good kitsch and bad kitsch is the bad kitsch, you're not aware of it.
The bad kitsch is it can kill you.
And there's that too, and it can and it does. We see that happen all throughout history, and to this very day. I think a lot of times when you like, I watch the news or I get tidbits of something happening here or there. I think Fromm's book Escape from Freedom has never been more relevant, and more people should read that book. Because you really see that the fear of freedom.
Yeah, like even religion. I mean, everything. I was thinking about it because when I was raised, when I was a kid, my dad was actually a big fan of Barry Goldwater, and I mean, it was we were watching Ronald Reagan movies, the whole deal. The Waltons, Lawrence Welk. I mean, you think of something like Kitsch and Tiki and that stuff that came out of this. I mean,
I think it was kind of there's something very rebellious about it. You know what I mean? It's like turning things on their head and making fun of them and reinventing them in a way that celebrates freedom, which was, it's the very opposite of how things got started. There was this sort of very regimental type of, like, again, when you think of the old Welch shows there that we just mentioned, where you had the dancers, and it was almost like in a strange way, it's almost like an army. You know what I mean? Everything is squeaky clean. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they had the bubble machine and Lawrence.
Yeah. It's just, there's a kind of creepy sort of
like Northern Korea. Look at the choreographed crazy shows they have there.
Exactly. It's exactly the same thing in many ways. You know what I mean? It's this sort of acceptable thing. Everything's acceptable. Nothing's out of line. The girls are girls and the boys are boys, and etc. Everything is in its little compartment, and nothing is scary or odd, or it's just this sort of prefab type of life that I mean, I could, that's the kind of thing I mean, I've always found really not a life worth living.
Okay, so you have your existing book, you have a new book that you're working on, and that's the Atheist Tiki Hour. Yeah, your existing book is that one is oh my goodness.
There's a hula girl on my dashboard. How I left faith behind and embraced life.
It always comes back to hula girls,
Yeah.
and then you have a new one coming out, and that's the story about the tomboy. How does that go?
The rollicking adventures of an unrepentant tomboy.
So what's that? Do you have anything forming in your head about that?
Sort of, it's just basically one of the things, when the idea came to me, the first thing I felt, a strong need to do was to design a cover, which is
I saw it. The cover's good.
I love designing covers because I find them incredibly inspiring. And, it's kind of like there's this great moment in Ed Wood, which was a, fantastic Tim Burton movie about Ed Wood and his relationship with Bela Lugosi. And at one point, Ed Wood goes to he's trying to get hired, to do this movie for this guy who produces crap, basically. Ed Wood asks the man, you have a script? And he says, fuck no, but there's a poster. So,
that should be good.
So once you have a cover, there you're in business, right? But it just captures the essence of the book so well. I just again want to talk about the joy of life, as I've experienced it. And one of the important things about this book, when I came up with the idea, was I'm going to write this to make myself happy. What a concept. I was trying to accomplish something that would be helpful or useful or which are all good things. But, I've always tended to forget myself so often in the equation that I thought, what if I just write something for fun?
Yeah,
I'll
exactly.
start writing something. And actually, when I was thinking about the book, I came up with, a sentence to, capture what the book would be about. And I liked it so much that I turned into a T-shirt. And basically it goes like this: eat penny candy while sitting on the sidewalk and do your own damn thing. Be your kind of happy. So this is kind of the state that I'm going to be operating from when I'm writing this book.
So there's lots to say. I got so many questions, so many things to talk about, but we're getting pretty close now to the cutoff.
Okay. We can always get together again anytime you'd like, my dear. It's always such a blast to talk with you. You're just such a lovely fellow.
Oh, thanks. So Logos, I don't think I actually introduced you. So LogosPilgrim. So let me know, or let the listeners know, where can they find you on the web?
They can find me on my website, LogosPilgrim.com. That's all one word. They can also find me on Twitter. I'm very active on Twitter. Again, LogosPilgrim. Also known as the Quiet Professor, because I tend to be quiet. And, Professor, well, that has a lot to do with Professor Snape and the fact that, I dressed up like him for so long. So it basically turned into a term of endearment.
We got to cover that too. Yeah, there's so much to talk about. And listen, LogosPilgrim, thanks so much for coming back to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It was like a pure delight. You're absolutely lovely. Thank you.
Welcome to the Russian circus, please, your dreams never will come to do.
Thus concludes this episode of Share a Slice with Sean. Music is a Russian circus story by the Freak Fandango Orchestra and Sophisticated Savage by Voodoo Suite. Both are available for download at freemusicarchive.org. Thanks for listening and tally ho.